ever get that feeling? Like you're just skimming the surface of information. You see all the headlines, but you don't really get it, you know?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Well, today we're going to dive deep into a method. It's used by, well, some of the sharpest minds out there.
Oh, really? Like who?
I'm talking McKinsey consultants, even those best-selling authors.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
It's called the Minto Pyramid Principle, and it's all about structuring your thinking.
Structuring your thinking.
Yeah, so you can communicate with power, you know, really get your point across.
Okay, I'm listening. What's sure special about this Minto Pyramid thing?
Well, it's not some new fad or anything.
Okay, good, because those never last.
It leverages, I guess you could say, fundamental ways our brains actually work.
Interesting. Go on.
Like, think about it, how we naturally group things together. Even something as simple as 6 dots on a page.
Okay, 6 dots on a page. I'm picturing it.
We instinctively see 2 groups of 3, right?
Yeah, you're right. I do. Why is that?
Proximity, I guess. We can't help it. We make connections.
Our brains are wired that way, always seeking patterns, connections, and the Minto Pyramid, well, it taps right into that.
How so?
Organizes information in a hierarchical way, starting with your main point at the very top.
So it's kind of like giving your audience a mental roadmap.
Exactly. Makes even those complex ideas just click.
Okay, that makes sense. But how's this work in practice? I mean, we've all been there, right? Information overload.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Like trying to remember a shopping list someone just rattled off.
Been there a million times.
You get back from the store and all you've got is the newspaper and the grapes.
Every single time. There's actually a classic study on this. Miller's magical number 7 plus or minus 2.
Magical number 7?
Basically, our short-term memory. Well, it can only hold so much at once. You know, most of us max out at about 7 unrelated items.
7, huh? So that's why those long shopping lists are doomed from the start.
Pretty much. But the Minto Pyramid, this is where it helps us beat this limitation. You know?
Okay, how? Spill the beans.
You group items logically. Instead of that jumbled mess in your head, you create those categories. Like your shopping list becomes produce, dairy, and so on.
I get it. So instead of 9 separate items, it's like 3 meaningful groups.
Exactly. It's like hacking our brain's limitations, isn't it?
Love it. Okay, but these groups, they can't just be like random chunks of information, right?
No, you're right. They need a clear relationship, a logical one. Otherwise, it's just noise.
Like overhearing a snippet of conversation, something about beards and mustaches, and then Zurich, New York, and London. All in the same sentence.
Intriguing, maybe, but definitely confusing.
Totally. No context, no connection.
And that's the thing. Without those relationships, your audience, they have to work too hard. And they'll probably end up misinterpreting, you know.
So the Minto Pyramid, it makes sure each idea fits logically within that larger structure.
Gotcha.
So how do we actually build this thing, this pyramid? Where do we even start?
Well, there are 2 main approaches. The top-down approach and the bottom-up.
Okay, top-down, bottom-up. Sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
So top down, if you already have a clear idea of your message, you start at the top, that main point, and you break it down, you know, into supporting arguments, subpoints, and all that.
But what if you're, I don't know, exploring a new topic or maybe tackling some complex problem and you don't know the solution right away?
That's where bottom up comes in. You gather up all your information, group it into those logical categories, and then, well, you work your way up and build up to that main point.
Okay, so it's 2 different paths, but they both lead to that same structural pyramid. I'm already rethinking how I approach writing. And presentations, for sure.
And, well, that's just the beginning, the real magic. It happens when you apply those 3 key principles of the Minto Pyramid.
Ooh, 3 key principles. Okay, lay them on me.
First one is summarization. Each level of your pyramid has to effectively summarize all of those ideas below it. Think of it like a news headline.
Okay, a headline. Short and sweet, gets to the point.
It captures that essence, but without all those little details.
Gotcha. So each level is like a mini summary of what's to come. What's next?
Consistency. The ideas within each group, they got to be logically consistent. You wouldn't mix like apples and chairs in a group without fruit, right?
Definitely not. My fruit salad would be pretty weird.
Exactly. Every idea at a given level, well, it has to truly belong there.
So how do we like really make sure we're doing that right?
There's a simple tip. You use plural nouns to check for that consistency. Like, are you grouping introductions, reasons, problems, or maybe changes?
Okay, plural nouns. That's a good one. It forces you to think about whether those ideas are all on the same, well, conceptual level, right?
Right, and then there's the third principle, logical order. There's a reason why point 2 comes after point 1.
Yeah, definitely can't just randomly throw things together.
The way you sequence your ideas, well, it guides your audience through your thinking. It makes your message a whole lot easier for them.
Which is like make or break for a presentation, right? So how do we determine that best logical order?
There are a few common approaches, like deductive reasoning. You start with a general principle, then you can presenting events in the order they actually happen.
So many options. I'm starting to see just how powerful this Minto Pyramid can be. But honestly, I'm a little intimidated. It sounds great in theory, but what about the challengers?
Oh, absolutely. The source material actually addresses these challenges head on. And a big one, well, a lot of people get stuck trying to create that perfect pyramid right from the start.
Oh, yeah. Guilty as charged. I can totally relate to that. I mean, it can feel overwhelming, right? Like getting everything perfectly organized right from the get-go.
It is, but here's the thing. It's okay to start messy. You don't have to be perfect right away. Just get those initial ideas out there, then refine them later.
Okay, that's good to hear. So we don't need to be paralyzed by like perfectionism.
Exactly. Remember, even with a bottom-up approach, you're probably going to revise your structure anyway as you go along. It's all part of the process.
Phew, that's a relief. What other advice does the source material offer? For us mere mortals trying to wrap our heads around it.
Well, it really emphasizes the importance of a strong introduction.
Oh yeah, the introduction. I can see that.
Think of it as your hook. It grabs your audience's attention and sets the stage.
And the source material specifically recommends the situation complication questions. Right?
Exactly. SCQA, a powerful way to structure your intro and create a compelling narrative.
So how's it work?
You start by establishing that current situation. Sets the scene, then you introduce a complication or maybe a challenge that needs to be addressed.
Okay, that makes sense. And that naturally leads to a question.
Right, and then of course you swoop in with your brilliant answer.
So it's like setting up a mini mystery.
You got it. You're piquing their curiosity, making them want to hear your solution.
Like in a good movie or a book, you gotta hook the audience from the start.
Exactly. And the source material uses a great example to illustrate this. It's a story about two Irishmen meeting on a bridge at midnight.
Wait, two Irishmen on a bridge at midnight? Okay, now I have to hear this.
So imagine.
Two Irishmen meeting on a bridge at midnight. Okay, this better not be the start of a bad joke.
No bad jokes here. It's all about the power of storytelling, even in a business setting.
Okay, so we're not talking leprechauns and pots of gold, though.
Not exactly, but a well-placed story. It can work wonders. It draws your audience in, makes your message more memorable. The source material is full of great examples like this.
So instead of diving right into, like dry facts and figures and stuff, we set the stage with a captivating story.
And the SCQA framework, it gives you that blueprint, helps you do it effectively.
Okay, SCQA, got it. So let's say we've nailed that intro. We've got our audience hooked. Now we need to build out those supporting arguments.
And make them strong.
How do we do that and make sure everything flows?
Well, remember those three key principles: memorization, consistency, and logical order. They're crucial here. Each argument, each one acts like its own mini pyramid with subpoints to back it up.
Like those Russian nesting dolls, pyramids within pyramids.
Exactly. And the source material also talks about using inductive reasoning when you're presenting these arguments.
Inductive reasoning. Could you remind me what that is again?
Of course. So deductive reasoning, that's when you start with a general statement, and then you give those specific examples to support it.
Oh, okay, I remember now. Like, all dogs are mammals, Fido is a dog, therefore Fido is a mammal.
Perfect example. Inductive reasoning. Well, it's kind of the opposite. You start with those specific observations, and then you draw a general conclusion.
So it's like building a case, brick by brick, until that conclusion, well, it just becomes obvious.
Exactly, and that can be really persuasive, especially if your audience is a little skeptical. You're letting them, arrive at the conclusion with you, rather than just, telling them what to think.
It's like a journey together, instead of just, giving them a destination.
I like that, a journey together.
And I bet it's super effective in a presentation too, right?
Oh, for sure. Think about it. If you just, state your conclusion right up front, people might tune out or disagree before you even get a chance to, explain yourself.
But if you lead them through that reasoning, step by step, well, they're much more likely to be on board by the time you reach that point.
Makes sense, right?
Totally. It's like building suspense, like that story about those Irishmen. Okay, so speaking of presentations, is there anything else to keep in mind when you're using the Minto Pyramid for a presentation specifically?
Yeah, actually, the structure of the pyramid, it can be a visual aid.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Instead of just bullet points on a slide, you can, actually show them your main point at the top, and then all those supporting arguments branching down.
It's like a literal roadmap for the audience to follow along with.
Exactly. Plus, it helps the presenter stay on track, too. Make sure you're covering all those key points in a logical way.
And you can, get creative with the visuals too, not just like plain old text, throw in some images, some charts, diagrams, make it pop.
Right. The source material talks a lot about making information engaging.
It's like turning a boring business presentation into a visually compelling story, which is, kind of what we were talking about earlier.
And here's another thing I really like about the Minto Pyramid. It's not just for business. Exactly. And, we touched on this in the first part, but I wanted to dig a little deeper into using the Minto Pyramid for problem solving.
Yeah, the source material mentions that too. I'm curious to hear more. It seems like a pretty powerful application.
It is. Problem solving is where the Minto Pyramid, well, it really shines, I think. It's not just about, communicating that solution. It's about structuring your thinking to find the best one in the first place.
So how's it work? I mean, let's say we've got a challenge at work, right? A project is, I don't know, behind schedule, or maybe a new product launch is flopping. How would we use the Minto Pyramid to, tackle this head on?
First things first, you got to define the problem, clearly.
Sounds obvious enough, but
You'd be surprised. So many people, they just jump right into solution mode, without even really understanding what's causing the problem in the first place.
it's like putting on a Band-Aid when something really needs stitching.
Perfect analogy. So with the Minto Pyramid, you start by putting that problem statement right at the top. And you break it down into components. Ask yourself, what are the symptoms? When did this all start? Who's affected? And most importantly, what are the
So it's like conducting an investigation. You gather all those clues before you even think about it.
right? And once you really understand the problem, those underlying causes, well, then you can start to brainstorm solutions.
And the pyramid keeps those solutions organized, right? Making sure each one is actually addressed.
Don't forget those logical orders we talked about earlier. Chronological,
Minto Pyramid.
Think about it. What makes
Oh yeah, transitions. Those words and phrases that connect those different sections, right?
Exactly. Otherwise, those ideas could feel, I don't know, choppy, like disconnected.
Transitions help you follow along, show how each idea relates to the next.
Right. You can add information like furthermore or moreover or contrast ideas like however or on the other hand.
Therefore, as a result, to show cause and effect. Or, for example, to, illustrate a point.
There you go. And it's not just about using a variety of transitions, but, choosing the right ones, the ones that accurately reflect that relationship between your ideas.
Ah, I see. It's about being intentional, making sure those transitions guide the reader in the right direction.
Right. It's like you're conducting an orchestra, and those transition words, they're your baton.
Love that. Okay, transitions, check. What about, what was it called? Parallel structure. The source material mentioned that.
Oh yes, parallel structure. Think of it as like adding elegance and rhythm to your writing. It's about phrasing your ideas in a similar grammatical form. It creates that sense of balance and harmony.
Okay, so instead of saying we need to increase sales, improving customer satisfaction, and cut costs.
You say we need to increase sales, improve customer satisfaction, and cut costs.
Ah, okay, I hear it. That subtle shift makes it sound so much smoother.
Right, parallel structure. It may seem like a small thing, but it makes your writing more readable, more persuasive even.
It's like we're adding a touch of poetry to our communication. Makes it stick.
And speaking of making it stick, we can't forget about concision. Getting straight to the point, no fluff.
That's where that principle of summarization comes in, right? Always pushing us to like distill those ideas down to their essence.
Exactly. It's like we're constantly asking ourselves, what's the key takeaway here? How can I say this in the fewest words possible? And that could be tough, but it's also pretty freeing, I think.
It's like we're decluttering our minds and our communication. Two birds, one stone.
Ha! Exactly. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. The Minto Pyramid, it's a great tool for developing that concise communication style.
Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like we've covered a ton in this deep dive. I mean, from those foundational principles to all these advanced techniques. It's a lot.
It is. But remember, the beauty of the Minto Pyramid, it's adaptable. It's not about those rigid rules. It's about understanding those underlying principles and then, applying them to your needs, whatever those might be.
It's like having a superpower almost, to be able to take control of your communication, express yourself clearly and confidently.
I like that. Communication superpower.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the Minto Pyramid Principle.
We hope you found it as fascinating as we have. And remember, the power of the pyramid, it's in your hands now.
So use it wisely. Keep those ideas sharp. Until next time, happy structuring.